So today we'll do a bit more with the belt. I will try and slow down with some of the instruction if I think we need some slowed down with the instruction. But a belt can provide so much flexibility and capacity in your practice to manage poses that otherwise might be too difficult because maybe you can't grab your toes with your hands or whatever that might be. So let's begin and see how we go. So maybe since we have belts, I'm going to put a block against my little thing here. And of course, again, like I showed you before, there's different kinds of belts, different lengths. So the first one, it won't matter so much what the belt's like. But we're going to lie down and do a little sequence with the legs. Block here, I'm just going to put up against my furniture here, but you can use your feet against the wall. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because if I press my foot, then it engages my leg, and so it gives me something to press into as if I was standing up. And so that's why it's really nice to do this. So what I like to do is scoot in towards the wall and then press my feet and slide away. And that also helps roll the shoulder blades underneath. And, you know, you can actually stay here to feel the relationship of your feet, your pelvis, and your shoulders. And you can use this pose to help line yourself up in Tadasana. So this is sort of like reclining Tadasana. I guess it would be called Supta Tadasana, right? Supta is the word for reclining. So you can just have your belt open like so. And again, to start with, you're going to bend the knees, press into whatever you have. You could have a bench against the wall, you could have a wall. I'm putting my blocks against a piece of furniture so I don't do something to the furniture. And then I'm going to bend my right knee in and take the belt. And then it's great to wrap your hands around the belt and just place the ball of the foot. Now, if you have hyperextended knees, you can put the belt on your heel and really press into the heel. But many of us need to bring it to the ball of the foot so we can open the back of the legs. And I don't know if you can feel that you're really pressing into those left side abdominals, but you get a bit of abdominal work here in that left side. And you also get some arm work by holding the belt here. So you've got rolling those shoulders down. And by staying here a few breaths, you can slowly open the back of the leg. And this can be one of those poses that's easier to engage later in the day when your body feels open. So if you need to bring the leg a little bit lower, that's okay. So if that's where you go today, it's best to work on straightening the leg. So this is called Supta Padangusthasana, which is hand to big toe pose, but it's reclining. So as you stay here, you're pressing into those left side abdominals, you're pressing the foot into whatever's supporting it, the wall, block. And after a while, you might still begin to feel a little shift, or maybe just a little bit of opening in the back of the leg, or you're feeling a stretch of the hamstrings, or Maybe you feel a little stretch behind the knee. Just give yourself a chance to notice. With the knee, there can be stretch behind the knee, but you certainly don't want to go into anything that is knee pain. So the stretch behind the knee is generally not knee pain. And again, you can lower the leg if it's too much. So there's my little guidance for the benefit of this pose. And then take your right hand to the right leg, so it's the same hand as leg. Now you've got two options with the other hand. You can either just place it on the side of the waist here, or the belly, or the hip, to really press that hip bone down, or you can put the arm out to the side. So slowly start to open the leg out to the side. You don't want to drop it to the floor and then lose the other leg. You can bend at the elbow and place the upper arm down. You get a little bit more arm work if you hold the leg here. And you might really feel it into that side waist here. And another variation on this pose is to bring the leg lower, foot further away from you, and then usually it can go lower down to the ground. And that will give you a different stretch. So that's one stretch. And then bringing it higher will be another stretch that's more hamstring oriented. So you can do both of those positions or just one. Meanwhile, you're trying to keep the opposite side as grounded to the floor as possible. You're trying to really root as much of the back side of that body into the floor. And after you stay here a few breaths, the leg might open even more, so you're opening the inner thigh. And then bring the leg up and change hands. So again, put the arm out to the side. Keep the leg, the bottom leg where it is, and just do a slight twist, bringing the leg over. Just notice where you feel that. Again, you can lower the leg, or you can raise the leg up. It's going to give different stretches in that outer hip. And then if you want to go a little bit deeper in this pose, you drop the outer foot down and you bring the foot closer to the floor, and you're really in a twist here. But you're still trying to anchor that bottom leg as best as you can. Slowly bring that leg up. And then it's really nice to wrap the hands again and lift the head off the floor and try to bring that shin towards the forehead. And again, this is a little bit of abdominal work, but also using weight to stretch the back of the leg out. And then slowly release the body down. And then bring the belt off the leg. Bring that leg down. And it's always a good idea to begin again by bending the knees a little bit, coming closer into the wall or the furniture, or whatever your foot's on. And then straighten the legs so the shoulder blades roll down. And then again, just notice the difference between your right and your left side. You might feel quite open or relaxed on the right side. That's what it feels like to me. Or maybe a more sensation in that right leg. And then really press that right foot in, and then slowly bend the left leg in most likely the ball of the foot, again, if you have hyperextended knees, they heal, but most of us don't. We need to actually stretch through the back of the leg. And again, setting yourself up that you're really pressing that bottom leg, the right leg, into the wall or whatever you've got there to help stabilize you. And then you can feel how this whole right side abdominal area is really supporting you here. And then you wrap the hands around the belt. Again, if you need it lower, you can have it a little bit lower. You just want to find that place that you're getting that stretch. You have to work within the range that works for you. So when we talk about our edges in yoga, we want to not be going so far where our breath starts to become shallow or hyperventilating. But we also don't want to go to a place where, gee, I'm not getting any kind of sensation or I'm not feeling any stretch. So I can't tell you how to do this. You have to find your body and what works for that, for you. And so it's about really listening to those sensations in your own body. And again, holding the belt in your left hand, you can either place the right hand down on this hip bone, or you can bring it out to the side and just really press into those side abdominals. Opening the inside thigh. Again, you can lower the leg down so it's away from the shoulder, and that'll go closer to the floor to give you one stretch. Or you can bring it up a little bit higher, and you can also bend the elbow and rest the forearm on the floor. It's all whatever your body needs today. Really working into those right side abdominals. Then slowly inhale that leg up. And here you change your hand with the belt, placing the left arm out to your shoulder height. And then you just start to bring the left foot over towards the right side. But you keep pressing the bottom leg with the toes up to the ceiling first. So this is going to give you one kind of outer thigh, outer hip stretch. And then to go into the full twist, you drop the side of the foot to the floor and you bring that leg down towards the floor. And you go into a fuller twist. We'll try to do this standing with the belt too, so you experience what that feels like as well. And then inhale, slowly come up, and then hold the side of the belt. And bring the forehead up towards the shin, opening the whole back of the leg. And then slowly bringing that foot down. And then bending your legs, rolling to your side. Come up to all fours, we won't use the belt here, but we just want to come into big toes together, knees wide. Actually, what you can do here, which is really nice with the belt, is as you start to bring your hips down, we did a little bit of this the other day, not in this pose. Take the belt to your hips. I probably should have you start like this. So if you sit on the shins, but the knees are wide, and if you can't sit too low, you can come up higher as you do this. And then come forward, and you're really pulling the hips up and using the power in your arm to give you some length in that side waist. And maybe you feel that. And slowly come up. And you can use as much strength as you want there to really pull back. You're really using the muscle action in your arms, but by pulling back, it really grounds the thighs down, but then it helps create space in your side body. So now see how you go. I keep thinking of ways to use it. Downward dog. I think we tried this the other day with it lengthwise, but just come into really spreading the hands here. Oh, I know. See? Doesn't take much. So you're going to take the belt and put it in its strap form so that you create a little bit of a circle. And this is going to be a bit of an adjustment because you want it to be, there's a little bony bit on your elbow. You want it to be like so. And this is going to support you in downward facing dog. We're actually going to try it both on the thighs and both on the elbow chips. So that little chip in this little elbow underneath here. And this is when you press the hands down. So see if when you're in all fours, you can feel how you're really pressing those elbow chips into the belt, and then tuck the toes under and come into downward dog. Now, if it feels like it loosens up, you may need to tighten it, or you're just spreading that elbow chip as best as you can into that belt. And then again, bring the knees down. And if you feel like taking the belt back into forward facing hero pose this way, you can do it. Otherwise, you can just go into big toes together, knees wide, forward facing hero pose. And what doing it this way, I can really feel like I'm getting some length in my lower back. Now, the other thing we can do with the belted downward dog is we might have to open it a little bit wider. We can put it around the thighs. And so you'll have to step the legs into it. And you'll have to monkey around with how tight you want it, depending on how wide you want those feet to be. And so when you come in, I actually think it feels pretty good to be pretty tight. So it's midway up my thighs. And then I tuck the toes under and come into downward facing dog. And then what the belt does here is it reminds me to use my front thighs to lift my sit bones up.
Because as a teacher, I could go around and put a belt around your thighs and lift it up. But here's a way that you yourself can give yourself feedback. And then you can bring the knees down. And if you want to take the belt off again, so you can play around whether you want the knees closer or the knees wide, and come into forward facing hero pose. And come up to sitting, and we'll just find our way through downward facing dog to slowly bring the feet and the hands towards each other. And then just letting the head hang for a few breaths. You can keep the knees a bit bent. Just loosening up anything in your arms and your shoulders. Slowly roll up through the spine and come into standing. Again, you just take the strap, and there's two ways to do this. You can hold the foot with both arms here, or since it's holding, big toe to hand big toe pose. Took me a minute. You can just use one hand. So, and of course you can have the leg quite low, especially if you're having balance issues like I was in that demonstration. But again, you can also just start with the knee bent and really feel into those side abdominals needing to support you here. Now, if you're feeling up to it, go ahead and open the leg to the side. And then come back to the center. And if you can change hands, I'm going to lose my balance now too. Change hands, you can try to go into the twist. Then come back around, bending the leg into tree pose and just holding your foot there with the belt for a second, and then bring it down. And of course, that's a little bit of a work, so you may need to shake out your legs because we did the whole sequence. What I could have done is each position on each side. So just do the best that you can. If you need to take a break in between, bring the foot back. You can. So if you put the belt on the ball of your foot, you can stay here with the knee bent. If you can straighten it, straighten it. If you need to lower it, lower it. But really engage and really lift that opposite side body. Again, you can take the break and bring the foot back in if you need to. If you're able to go straight into opening to the side, you can do that. And then you can come in front of you and change hands if you've got the balance, or you can bend the leg again and take your time trying to come into the twist. And then if you're stable, again, you can come back around, bend the foot in, and just hold it there into tree pose. And then take the belt down, the leg down. And you know, that's pretty heating work. So now we're going to try something even different. We're going to put the belt on our hips to just notice the evenness or lack of evenness in our hips. Or it's just a reminder. So we bring the belt up to where those front hip bones are. And then you pull it in. This is when it's nice to have smaller belts, but it doesn't matter. I just have a long tail. But the idea is that it gives you a reference point in the hips. In a way, it's the same thing as when we did big toes together, knees wide, and you pressed your belt in there. And then we're going to do tree and see if that belt helps you bring, cinch in those hips, essentially. See if you can keep that line in your hips. If you're feeling stable, hands can come into prayer. And they can come up. And on your next exhale, you can release the arm. Release the foot down. And again, feel into that cinching of the hips in Tadasana. Standing on the other foot. Bring the other foot up. And then just become aware of how that belt is sitting. Feeling stable, hands can come into prayer position. Then, if you're okay, you can bring them overhead. You feel stable enough. Release the arm. Sometimes it's good to really slow things down. So now we're going to sit in Dandasana. I'm going to sit sideways. If you need extra under your sit bones, you can have a folded blanket or towel. You can have more height by folding that blanket higher up. And then we're going to do a few things with the belt in Paschimottanasana. So in Paschimottanasana, we're trying to really sit on those sit bones. One way is to just wiggle the hips. Another way is to just scoop the flesh away from the sit bones. And the first thing we're going to do is take that belt right in front of those hips. And then again, pull behind you to find that staff pose, Dandasana. You can really use as much strength as you have there to really press those sit bones down. Feel pelvis really sitting into the mat, into the floor. And release that and bring the belt to the balls of the foot. Again, you can check on the heels. Some people need to press into the heels. Most of us need it into the balls of the feet. And then again, you can wrap your hands to inhale, look up, and then you start to slowly walk down the belt as you try to creep that thoracic spine in. going forward. And just stay where you need to. You might be very upright, or you might be able to slowly take a few breaths as you go forward. A few more. Again, keep pressing the backs of the legs to the floor. And again, you can look up to try to bring that thoracic spine in and continue to go deeper in the pose. Slowly come up. And another nice way to use the belt in Paschimottanasana is to do reverse Paschimottanasana, where you're laying on your back. You've got the belt around the balls of the feet, and you really want to press as much of the lower back to the floor as possible, but then you start to bring the shins towards the face. The nice thing about this way of doing the pose is you're not putting any stress on your upper spine. So again, you really have to open the backs of the legs, trying to get the shin towards the forehead, but not lifting too far off of the ground. You're trying to keep some of the lower spine down. And slowly bending the legs. And then keep the feet in the belt. Hold it with your left hand. Put your right arm down. Take the legs to the left side. Then inhale up, change hands. Take them to the right side. And we'll do that another round, coming from one side, coming back up, and coming to the other side. And then bending your knees, and coming into whatever way of Shavasana you'd like to. If you need to keep the legs bent, if you need to put something under your knees, if you can extend the legs long, arms next to you, you can do it that way. So however you can come into a Shavasana, and as you settle into the pose, just notice what sensations you feel after going through that process of using the belt, focusing on some basic poses that were about opening the backs of the legs, about finding some balance, about finding some core support. notice the breathing at your nostrils. Can you feel air moving into one nostril, or can you feel it moving into both nostrils? Just notice what you notice. No judgment, no right, no wrong. Just awareness. So you inhale, exhale. See if you can soften both of your legs into the mat. Your toes all the way up to your eye sockets. Your legs soften. See if you can soften your arms from your fingertips all the way into your shoulder girdle, to your shoulder socket, so that the arms soften from the fingers into the shoulder girdle. See if you can soften from your pelvic girdle and your lower spine all the way through the rib cage up to your shoulder girdle, upper spine, so that your whole torso softens into the mat, into the ground. Throat soften, back of the neck softens and lengthens, base of the head soften, your scalp is softening, forehead widens and softens. Temples soften, space between the eyebrows widens and softens, your eye sockets, your eyes rest into your eye sockets, your cheeks are softening, your jaw softens. Your chin softens and the tongue rests into the lower palate. Slowly reawakening your body, deepening your breath, stretching through your hands, fingers, toes, feet, and give yourself a nice stretch in your own time, and slowly roll to your side and come up to sitting.
Hope you found some useful ways to use the bell today. Thank you for coming, and be kind to yourself. Namaste.